Imagine this. You come home after a long day. The house is silent. The walls don't speak. No one is waiting for you. No one cares whether you ate today or whether your work was meaningful. You sit down, stare at the screen, scroll through endless distractions, and in the quiet moments between all the noise, when you're honest with yourself, you wonder, is this all there is? No, I'm not saying every man must have a girlfriend. I'm not saying that solitude is inherently bad. But I am saying this. Welcome to my channel. Philosophy of Stoicism. If you are a man living alone without a partner, without a direction, without a sense of meaning tethering you to the world, you are playing a dangerous game, because you see, a man left entirely to his own devices can easily drift into chaos. He falls into patterns of nihilism, addiction and despair, and worst of all, he becomes comfortable in them living alone. Without a girlfriend might seem like a neutral or even preferable situation for some men, especially in a world that increasingly promotes individualism and self-sufficiency. However, prolonged isolation comes with hidden dangers that can gradually erode a man's well-being. A man left entirely to his own devices can easily fall into patterns of stagnation, nihilism, and addiction. This isn't to say that every man who is alone is doomed, but the risk of slipping into these destructive states is significantly higher when there is no one to hold him accountable, to challenge him, or to care about his progress. One of the biggest risks of isolation is the slow decay of discipline and structure. When a man lives alone without external obligations to a partner or a family, he can gradually start neglecting his responsibilities. There's no one to notice if he wakes up late, if he skips a workout, or if he spends an entire weekend indulging in mindless entertainment in the absence of external motivation. He may convince himself that these small failures don't matter, but over time they accumulate and create a sense of aimlessness. This lack of purpose can lead to nihilism, the belief that nothing truly matters. Once a man starts to think that his actions have no meaning, he becomes susceptible to self-destructive behaviors ranging from excessive video gaming and binge-watching to more dangerous habits like alcohol and drug abuse. Another danger of isolation is the absence of emotional connection. A man without meaningful relationships often suppresses his emotions, believing that vulnerability is a weakness. But human beings are wired for connection, and when that need is unmet, it manifests in unhealthy ways. Many isolated men develop a deep resentment towards society, relationships, and even themselves. They may project their frustrations outward, blaming the world for their loneliness, or inward, leading to depression and self-loathing. Without someone to challenge their perspective, they risk falling into an echo chamber of negativity over time. Isolation can become comfortable. The fewer people a man interacts with, the more he convinces himself that he doesn't need anyone. But this comfort is deceptive, because it isn't strength, it's avoidance. Living without a partner doesn't just mean missing out on companionship, it means missing out on a vital force that drives men to grow, to improve, and to find deeper meaning in life. Taking on responsibility is one of the hardest but most necessary things a man can do. Many men avoid relationships because they see them as burdensome, requiring too much effort, compromise, and sacrifice. They tell themselves that staying single allows them to live freely, without obligations, without anyone to answer to on the surface. This might seem like an appealing lifestyle, complete autonomy, no one to disappoint, no fights, no commit. But beneath this illusion of freedom lies a deeper problem. The refusal to take on responsibility ultimately leads to a shallow, unfulfilled existence. When a man avoids responsibility, he avoids the very thing that gives his life meaning. Without responsibility, there is no growth without growth. there is no progress, and without progress, there is only stagnation. It is easy to live for oneself, to do whatever feels good in the moment, to dodge commitments and stay in a comfortable routine. But comfort is not the same as fulfillment. A life spent avoiding challenges is a life spent avoiding potential relationships, particularly intimate ones. Force a man to step up to become more than he currently is. They demand patience, communication, and self-improvement. They reveal weaknesses that can be ignored when a man is alone. The real reason many men reject responsibility is not because they don't want it, but because they fear failing at it. Being responsible means being accountable, being dependent on, and having others rely on you. That is a heavy burden to carry, and the fear of not measuring up can be paralyzing. But this fear does not justify avoidance. In fact, it highlights exactly why responsibility is so crucial. A man who runs from responsibility is a man who remains untested, unchallenged, and ultimately unfulfilled. He may feel a temporary sense of relief by dodging commitment, but deep down, he knows something is missing. The truth is that meaning in life is not found in endless freedom or in doing only what is convenient. Meaning is forged through struggle, through perseverance, through rising to meet challenges rather than retreating from them. A man who takes on responsibility, whether in relationships, career or personal development, grows in strength, wisdom and purpose. He transforms from someone who merely exists into someone who builds, contributes, and leaves a lasting impact. Responsibility is difficult, but it is also the foundation of a meaningful and fulfilling life. A meaningful relationship is not about convenience or comfort. It is about growth, challenge, and transformation. Many men think that a relationship should be easy, that the right person will come along and effortlessly fit into their life without friction. But real relationships don't work that way. A strong partnership is not about avoiding difficulty, it's about embracing it. A good woman will test a man not because she wants to break him, but because she wants to see if he is capable of standing firm, of leading, of being someone she can trust and respect. She will push him to be better, to refine his character, to take on more responsibility, and to rise above his weaknesses. When a man is alone, he can deceive himself into thinking he is fine, just as he is. There is no external pressure to improve, no one to point out his blind spots, no one to challenge his excuses. He can sink into patterns of complacency and stagnation without realizing it. But a real relationship acts as a mirror, reflecting both strengths and weaknesses in a way that solitude never can. A good partner will notice when a man is not living up to his potential, when he is avoiding difficult truths, when he is letting himself slip. She won't tolerate mediocrity, not because she is demanding, but because she sees what he is capable of. This is why relationships are difficult, but also why they are necessary. A relationship also teaches a man how to navigate at struggle, how to compromise, how to put someone else's needs ahead of his own. It forces him to develop patience, resilience, and emotional intelligence, qualities that are essential not just for relationships, but for every aspect of life. The ability to work through disagreements, to listen, to lead with strength, but also with kindness, are skills that a man must develop if he wants to be successful in any meaningful endeavor. Many men avoid relationships because they fear being vulnerable, being hurt, or being controlled. But true strength is not found in avoidance. It is found in the willingness to engage, to take risks, to open oneself up to the refining process of love and commitment. A strong relationship does not weaken a man. It makes him stronger. It forces him to evolve, to step into his full potential, and to become someone worthy of respect, trust, and admiration. When a man isolates himself, he might think he is choosing strength, independence, or in peace, but more often than not, he is choosing weakness without realizing it. Isolation does not make a man stronger, it makes him more fragile. It deprives him of the challenges, responsibilities and interactions that force him to grow. When there is no one around to test him, to depend on him, or to call him out on his shortcomings, he can easily fall into a cycle of self-deception. He convinces himself that he is fine on his own, that he does not need anyone, that relationships are a distraction or a burden. But deep down, there is often a sense of emptiness, a feeling that something crucial is missing. One of the most dangerous aspects of isolation is that it breeds resentment. A man who spends too much time alone can start to view the world through a cynical lens. He sees couples together and feels bitterness. He sees others forming connections and assumes they are lucky or naive. He begins to justify his own loneliness by looking for flaws in relationships, telling himself that love is a weakness, that women are untrustworthy, or that society is to blame for his situation. This mindset is a trap. The more he feeds it, the deeper he falls into anger and detachment, making it even harder to form meaningful connections in the future. Another risk of isolation is that it creates a lack of emotional resilience. Human beings are social creatures. We develop strength not in solitude, but in interaction. A man who avoids relationships also avoids the very experiences that would make him stronger. Learning how to navigate conflict, how to handle disappointment, how to compromise and how to lead. Without these challenges, he remains emotionally underdeveloped. He may pride himself on his independence, but when faced with real hardship, he finds himself unprepared. Over time, isolation can become comfortable, even addictive. It removes the immediate discomfort of social risk and emotional vulnerability. But comfort is not the same as fulfillment. A man who isolates himself may avoid pain, but he also avoids purpose. The longer he stays alone, the harder it becomes to break free. What starts as a choice eventually becomes a prison. The only way out is to reject resentment, to stop blaming the world, and to recognize that growth, strength, and true satisfaction come not from avoiding relationships, but from engaging in them. Many men who live alone without a partner convince themselves that the problem lies outside of them, that relationships are too difficult, that women are too demanding, or that society is structured against them. But the hard truth is this: if a man is struggling to attract or maintain a meaningful relationship, he must first look inward. He must ask himself whether he is truly the kind of man who is worthy of the relationship he desires. Too often men focus on what they want, rather than on what they need to become. A strong, intelligent and emotionally mature woman is not going to commit to a man who lacks discipline, direction or ambition. She is not looking for someone who merely exists. She is looking for someone who is striving, someone who has a sense of purpose, someone who is actively working to improve himself. A man who drifts through life with no clear goals, who spends his time indulging in distractions rather than building himself up, will not attract the kind of partner he dreams of. And even if he does manage to find a relationship, it will likely be unstable because he has not yet developed the qualities necessary to sustain it. Building oneself into a worthy partner is not about pretending to be something one is not. It is not about adopting an act of confidence or success while remaining stagnant underneath it. It is about genuine self-improvement, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It means taking care of one's health, setting goals, and working toward them, developing emotional intelligence, learning how to communicate effectively, and cultivating self-discipline. It means having a vision for the future and actively taking steps to achieve it. This process is not easy, and that is precisely why it is necessary. Many men avoid the hard work of self-improvement because it is uncomfortable. It requires facing weaknesses, acknowledging failures, and making sacrifices. But avoiding this work leads only to frustration and loneliness. The world does not owe anyone a relationship. Love and companionship are not entitlements, they are things that must be earned. A man who puts himself together, who takes responsibility for his own development, will not only become more attractive to potential partners, but he will also gain a deeper sense of self-respect and confidence. When he reaches that point, relationships are no longer about seeking validation or filling a void. They become a natural extension of the meaningful life he has built. Meaning is not something that falls into a man's lap. It is not handed to him by the world, nor does it simply appear when he wants it to. Meaning must be created, pursued, and fought for. A man who lives alone, without a girlfriend, without deep relationships, and without a clear sense of purpose, can easily fall into a passive existence. One where he drifts from day to day seeking temporary pleasures, but never finding real fulfillment. He may distract himself with entertainment, with work, with hobbies, but in the quiet moments he will feel the weight of something missing. The mistake many men make is waiting for meaning to arrive. They tell themselves that one day they will feel motivated, that one day the right opportunity or the right person will come along and change everything. But that day never comes, because meaning does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who act. A man must go out and create meaning for himself. He must step outside of his comfort zone, take risks and engage with the world in a way that forces him to grow. If he wants a meaningful relationship, he must first become someone capable of sustaining one. If he wants a purposeful life, he must take responsibility for shaping it. This requires effort, discipline, and a willingness to face discomfort. A man who avoids challenges in favor of what is easy and familiar will remain stagnant. He may feel a temporary sense of security in his solitude, but over time that solitude will turn into isolation, and isolation will turn into regret. The only way to break free from this cycle is through deliberate action. A man must set goals, physical, intellectual, emotional, and relational, and work toward them every single day. He must build something of value, whether it be a career, a skill, a philosophy, or a family. He must contribute to the world in a way that matters most. Importantly, he must stop making excuses. The world is not going to hand him a sense of purpose. No one is going to force him to improve. No one is going to push him forward unless he takes that first step himself. Meaning is not something that is found. It is something that is built. And the sooner a man realizes that, the sooner he can begin creating a life that is truly worth living. One more thing. Share this video with a friend who might need to hear this. You never know who's struggling to read the signs, and this might be exactly what they need to see. We've also recommended the best video for you on your screen right now, so go ahead and watch that next. See you be back here tomorrow.